Lolo, thank you so much for popping on and chatting with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure that we were coordinated with all black everything sad and weird, so I'm
Kind of weird. Perfect. I love that.
yeah. And then I made sure to have an orange pen, an orange mug, and to take notes I have my orange card. Cool. So, record Debbie Downer out via Hopeless Records. At the time of recording, that's today.
It's today. It's out.
Yeah, September 30th. So, congratulations, Lolo.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
Release day is always so weird for me because well, first of all, I'm a control freak and I'm trying to I try so hard to make everything perfect and so great. And in the writing and the music video and the art and like every little detail is I'm working on it and I'm thinking about it. And then all of a sudden it's just out. It's done. And there's nothing else I can do. It's totally out of my control. And I'm just hoping that everyone likes it. So it's always a weird feeling. It's like it's a good feeling and it's like an exhale, but it's also I don't know, a little bit anxious,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm feeling good for the most part.
That's good. Exhale, waiting for the next inhale, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, something you mentioned was being a control freak, every little detail, and one of the things that I picked up on was the production of the record. And I play the guitar myself, and I'm really big into those kinds of things. So I was just curious, when you set out to create this record, Debbie Downer, is that what we're listening to, or was there a journey along the way of discovery?
Well, I mean, I'll write the song, we'll do it in a recording session, and it's always a bit different. Like the demo is always less developed, but I think for the most part, the bones were there. I mean, like when I first wrote, Debbie Downer was the first song I wrote on the EP. And at that moment, that's when I knew I wanted to write a whole EP about Debbie Downer because I was like, you know what, this girl, and obviously I talk about how the girl is me, but I'm like, I feel like this character, like it's not just this fun upbeat. She has this side to her and this side to her and like things about this. And that's when I realized I wanted to make the whole EP called Debbie Downer about this person, Debbie Downer. But that song was pretty much like when we wrote that, we were in the studio right away, had that riff on the guitar. And so that song, actually, I would say out of all of the songs the demo is most like the actual song. But, Boohoo, for example, which came out today, that was just piano. And then we made it into a rock ballad. But yeah, I guess all the songs are different. I would say Junkie had a lot of edits, a lot of edits. You Turn Me On, But You Give Me Depression was pretty much there from the get-go. So it just depended on the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like Asking for a Friend's probably one of my favorite ones on the record.
Thank you. Oh, that one had a lot of edits.
Okay. Because one of
Production wise, yeah.
yeah, because that song, when I hear it, I could hear that produced any number of ways. Any number of ways. Because it almost has this edge to it. Like you could have done it like Marilyn Manson. It almost has this subtlety to it. How did you guys decide on where it ended up on the record?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually wrote that 2 years ago when I would say in my production was more like trappy drums and stuff like that. So it originally had like trappy drums and more like hip hop elements to it. Um, and then at one point it was just an acoustic thing. Then at one point it was just electric guitar. It really went through the ringer, but I don't even know how we exactly landed on what we landed on, but it just felt right. The way it is now. It was almost just guitar. It was almost just guitar up until the last day I had to submit it for the EP. But then I was like, you know what? I could have some light drums. So, and I'm happy with how it turned out. But yes, you're right. It could have gone anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned, because the trap and hip hop, I hear those. I guess, what was it about the last 2 years that created that shift and that change in your songwriting?
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I still love that sound. Like my songs in the past, Lonely and Pathetic or Die Without You. I love the drums in those songs and that kind of vibe. But I don't know. I guess I'm not even really sure how to put it into words, but kind of just started going the more like live drum feel and just what I'm into right now, I guess. But I mean, who knows? In 2 years, maybe I'll be back. Maybe I'll have flutes in my songs. I don't know.
Yeah, with distortion on them and stuff. And
yes, then that would work.
mm-hmm, absolutely. Now, it seems like on this EP, you also have the ability to have a voice for a lot of people who maybe don't feel like they have a voice. What's behind that?
I mean, it's not something I really think about, like, trying to have a voice for people that don't have a voice. I feel like for me, I kind of am just like, okay, what do I want to say that is as brutally honest or, just authentic to me? And I feel like while doing that, it ends up, if you talk about these certain things that not aren't always talked about, I guess,
Yeah.
it just becomes that voice for other people. But I mean, and it even took me a while to write about these things. Like until this EP, I never spoke about anxiety, depression, any of this stuff. It was really only this year that I felt comfortable enough to sing about those things. But up until then, we were just singing about hitting boys. So
Well, and I've heard that a lot. That Chad Kroger comes to mind when he finally felt comfortable writing something personal, and "How You Remind Me," I think, was the first song where he actually wrote about something personal. What is that like to all of a sudden? Is there all of a sudden like a feeling that you've had for a long time, like, oh, I should write personal? No, I can't. Like, how does that work?
yeah, I don't know. It just I just started wanting to, I guess, write about those things. And it's funny because like I feel like putting out if I just put out a song like asking for a friend or boohoo or any of the really personal ones out into the world of like, strangers, that like the idea of doing that didn't even bother me. It was like the fact that I was like, okay, I know my mom's gonna hear this, like my close friends are gonna hear this and they're gonna be like, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
so really that was the biggest challenge because, when I'm just normally when I'm just writing, like I'm not really thinking about who's listening to it besides like my mom. Like I was concerned about my mom. But yeah, I don't really know. Like I guess I just developed in my songwriting, was writing more songs. It was also the pandemic, so I had a lot of time to like really hone in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned the pandemic. A lot of these things sort of came up to the forefront during the pandemic, and I noticed a lot of the music videos are fundraisers. I mean, how has all that gone?
Yeah, yeah, the fundraiser was around Suicide Prevention Day, asking for a friend, and then I just made all the videos fundraisers. Yeah, I mean, yeah, as you said, the pandemic was, some tough times for people mentally, but I think at the same time, it was also, I mean, for me personally, I can't speak on the rest of the world, obviously, but I had a lot of time to just sit and write. So, for me as an artist, although it was hard mentally, it was also really rewarding because I wrote a bunch of shit. So
I guess, this is an opportunity for people to, learn more about you, because when the label sent me this stuff and I took a look, and I think they sold it as, the new Avril Lavigne or something, and I was like, okay, cool.
yeah,
And
you love that.
yeah. And when I finished watching the videos that had been released at the time and listened to the record, I just thought, this is going to be a very cool person to know, because you kind of have this like pop punk thing, goth thing, but like you're smiling while you're talking about punching holes through walls. You're smiling while you're talking about being a Debbie Downer. Like all black,
Yeah.
everything's sad and weird, and you're like smiling, and you've got happy tattooed on your arm.
Be
So
happy. Yeah. Well, that's a reminder for myself and everyone.
yeah,
But yeah.
so I figure, I bet she is like the cheeriest person. Even the artwork, it says Debbie Downer, but you're smiling.
Yeah. Well, so that's the whole thing about Debbie Downer is that like, it's about like someone that people perceive as a Debbie Downer because she dresses in all black and has her nails and has black pin straight hair and like because she's different from the regular like cookie cutter trying to fit in whatever. So people think she's a Debbie Downer when really she's just like, or like thinks she's so sad when it's like really she's just a little bit emo, like, and she has her days as does everyone. So I feel like though what I was trying to convey in the song and then in the EP in general is just about like, just like the journey of growing up and like going through relationships and going through life and like, trying to like fit in. And it's just like such bullshit and basically just like yourself. And like, I was trying to put power back into the word Debbie Downer. Like, yeah, sure. Maybe I'm a Debbie Downer. Why? Because I sing about these things, because I like dress in all black, because you think I look goth. Like,
Yeah.
but no, it's like, we're all Debbie. We're all, that. So that was the whole message I was trying to get across.
Yeah. You just got to find where you fit in, and maybe I don't fit in here, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, it looked like you were actually really quite excited by the comparison to Avril. Was she like a powerful role model for you?
Yeah, I mean, Avril's iconic, a legend. So I'll always take that comparison, which I do get a lot. She was like, you know, I was doing dances in my basement to like Skater Boy and performing for my parents. So that she was definitely a huge one. I would say like the main ones for me, like I grew up being obsessed with Green Day and Hilary Duff
Okay.
and Avril Lavigne. So, which I think is like a pretty accurate amalgamation. And Weezer, I also that was a huge one. So yeah, I mean, I tried to take a little bit of everything. Obviously, Avril is so cool, and I hope to meet her one day and tell her that. But yeah, yeah, she's goals. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one because I imagine you would probably be like totally starstruck. Like, I get to meet you, and she would probably be like, I really dig the stuff that you're doing. And you'd be like, is this even happening? Is this real?
I would die. That actually happened to me. I met Green Day at a hotel in LA, like at a random night, and then they like complimented one of my songs the next day, and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't like I'm printing this out and putting it on a mug. So I feel like I actually weirdly got that moment that you were just talking about. And if I
Yeah.
got it again, I would be like, okay, now I'm really in the fucking simulation. This is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a weird, I'm just constantly in shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't wear off, I guess,
Yeah.
is the thing. Martin Short told a story about how he met somebody and he acted like a complete child, and then he finished his bit by saying, and I was 45 years old. You know, it's almost like it never.
Yeah. It's, you know, if you're meeting an idol, it's always going to be like, I think shocking. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, something else I noticed is MTV and Loudwire both said that something about you is a callback to the early 2000s. Does that surprise you? Is that intentional?
I mean, yeah, I do get that. I think I guess, I don't know. I put guitars in my songs and then, you know, I guess, I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, I also like to call, like, you know, in the Debbie Downer video and song for the single, I put in like a quote from Bring It On.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess I dress in the Y2K style.
You know what's funny?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what's funny is because I'm old enough to have grown up through all of that stuff. I was in high school in the early 2000s, and I saw that
Right.
comparison, and I watched your stuff, and I said, I don't get it. Where?
Yeah. You know what? Same. I agree with you. I'm always like, I feel like, but I mean, I'll take it because that was an iconic era. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I'm like, okay, cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Fist bump. Boom. There we go. Sweet. Yeah, cool. Okay. Now, Spotify, Billboard, and Young and Dundas Square twice this year.
Insane.
I know, you're taking the 6 and putting it upside down. It's a 9 now. So like,
I am Drake.
yeah,
So
you're the new
you've noticed that.
you're the new Drake. Drake, step aside. I got T Dot now.
Yeah.
Is that how does that feel? Like, so I guess but the core of my question is, from what I've been told from the label, a couple years ago, and we all know that it's not an overnight success. You've probably been at this for 100 years, and you look great for being, 125.
You're 120.
But according to what I got, you were doing stuff on TikTok, and now all of a sudden you're taking over Toronto. So, and you're in LA, and you're being interviewed. So, how did that journey happen? How did you go from where you were to where you are now?
Yeah. Well, so TikTok, that was again during the pandemic. I first off was dancing on TikTok because I was like, oh, what's this cool app? I'm gonna dance. And I was getting like 200 views. And then that, like, I don't know if you remember, there was a Hey There Delilah trend where you would like switch the perspective and be like, hey, it's Delilah. And so I did that. And then I got 200,000 views. And I was like, maybe I should be singing on this app. Maybe.
Maybe.
And maybe. And then I was like, you know what? There's so many songs that I could switch the perspective and make it terribly fucking sad.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that is what gets me going. So I was like, okay. So I was like, okay. So like, I started doing Ed Sheeran, whatever. I was getting a lot of views. And then I did like a Taylor Swift one, and that really fucking blew up and got the attention of the Swifties. And then from there, I got noticed by my publisher, APG in LA. And then so I got signed, and I was like, okay, I have to move to LA. And then shortly after that, I got signed by Hopeless Records as an artist. So I guess, yeah, here I am. But yeah, I guess I really started getting the, worldwide people seeing me from TikTok. So shout out TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounded almost too good to be true. Like, okay, you post a video on TikTok, next thing you know, people are ringing you and calling you, and you have a work ethic, so you drove into it, and as long as you continue to work, you'll have work, kind of thing. So I just figured you're probably tired of answering that question, but maybe you're not, and I just find it cool.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a question I get all the time. Tell us about TikTok.
Tell us about TikTok. Yeah, mostly from people like me who don't understand it, but
honestly, I don't either. I feel like no one truly does. It's very polarizing, interesting thing.
Yeah. Okay, now your collab. Take us through that. Did you guys already know each other? Was that like a label connection where they put you two together? How did that happen?
Yes, it wasn't a label connection. I actually got connected like organically through this producer, Josh Murdy, who has produced for Maggie before, for her last album and this album. Anyway, so he pulled me in because I'm also, as I told you, a songwriter for other artists, and I do pitch stuff. So he's like, do you want to write with Maggie Lindemann? And I was like, I would fucking love to write with Maggie Lindemann. So he brought me into the session. We got along really well. The first song that we ever wrote together was We Never Even Dated, which just dropped on her album last week. And so that worked out, and she was like, oh, this is great. So I guess she invited me to more songwriting sessions. We wrote more songs together, and we sort of, became friends through that. So when I had Debbie Downer, it was originally just supposed to be me singing it. And then I was, me and my manager were talking about a feature, and I was like, this can't have a fucking dude on it. Like, this is like a girl anthem, in my opinion. And then I was like, wait, well, what if it had like a really cool, like, girl in the rock scene? And then I was like, wait, Maggie. So I asked her to do it. At first it was like not good timing. It was like right before the holiday. She was going back to Texas, and so I kind of like was like, okay, it's not happening. If it's not Maggie, I don't want anyone on this. I'll just release it myself. But then I asked her to be in the music video when I was filming it in January after the holidays, and I guess she was like, wait, I still want to be on. I'm down to be on the song now. And so we like took it down from DSPs. It was like, it wasn't out yet, but it was getting ready to be out, so we already had serviced it everywhere. Took it down, rewrote it with her on it as a feature, redid her verse, did all her parts, and then the song you hear today.
Yeah. Did you guys have to change any kind of keys? Are you guys like similar in terms of key and all that?
No, we didn't have to change the key or anything. Our voices are in the same range, I would say, for sure. So we just changed, lyrics in the second verse.
Cool. As a guitar head, I like the guitar tone on the record. Is that you playing?
I wish it was me. Now, I you know what? I used to be way better at guitar than I am now, because when I first started out, I never had the intention to write songs. I just wanted to play guitar and be cool. And then once I started writing songs, I would get put into songwriting sessions, and, at a studio with two producers that are amazing at a guitar. So why would I play when they could do it? And then I stopped playing as much, and then I got shit at guitar. But now I'm in the phase of practicing and getting better at guitar again. So hopefully one day I'll be able to play Debbie Downer. But as of now, it would sound like shit.
Well, that sounds like being a Debbie Downer, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's true.
Very cool. Very cool. I believe that concludes all of my questions. We covered a lot. We covered the new record, Debbie Downer, out via Hopeless Records. At time of recording on September 30th, being released today. We covered TikTok. We covered Maggie. We covered trap and hip hop, being a control freak, every little detail. You got to meet, was it all of Green Day, or was it just Billy Joe?
It was Billy and Mike were there. Yeah.
Okay.
And Michelle Branch was there too, really randomly.
Who was there? Sorry?
It was Michelle Branch.
No shit, really?
Like, yeah, you know her. Okay,
of course I know her.
Yeah, okay, but for a second it seemed like you didn't. I was like, wait, you said you grew up in high school at this era, so you obviously know her. Okay, yeah, she was there. It was quite the night. It was quite the night. It was like right next to it was at the Sunset Marquis Hotel. It was really cool.
Wow, very cool. No, I was just taken aback because I haven't really heard that she's been doing much since the Carlos Santana days, which maybe just makes me out of touch.
I mean, we weren't like working,
Yeah.
Just drinking.
Yeah. But I did at one point at the height of her popularity at a hotel in Sedona ask anybody if they knew her, and they were really quite upset. Um,
That you even asked?
they're like, these are people that I asked were like miffed. They were like, well, she's from here, but she's not here anymore. Like they were
Oh, they're jealous. They're
jealous,
jealous.
super jealous. Yeah,
That's what happens when you're fucking iconic. So,
I know, right?
Ella, if you're listening, I love you.
And then I heard her song on the radio everywhere, and I was like, is this about Jesus? I think after like
Is it?
20 years, like I'm listening to the lyrics because back then it was really popular for Christian songs to be on the radio, but they made it really hard to tell.
Mm.
And it's like you're everywhere. You're like, yeah, you're everywhere or something. And I'm just like, wait a minute, who's everywhere? What's everywhere? Hold on a second. Is this about Jesus?
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Is there anything you wanted to chat about? Anything you wanted to get out there?
I feel like we covered it all. I mean, I'm so like actually that is a question at interviews where I'm always like, I don't know. I'm so bad at thinking of questions, but that's why we have you.
Yeah.
So,
So I mean, one last thing I will think of is, or
okay.
two things I'll think of that we have time for. Number one, any touring coming up? I don't have any dates.
Yes, I'm going on tour on October 28th. I'm touring all of Europe, or not all of Europe, but a lot. I've never been really anywhere in Europe except Amsterdam and Greece. So,
Exactly. And then you mentioned that you're in LA rather than TO. Is that for like
yes.
studio time? Are you doing more recording? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much am like based here now.
Okay.
So I usually just go home to Toronto to visit my family. But yeah, I'm writing. I'm writing in the studio right now,
Mhm.
recording, trying to figure out what the hell the next thing is gonna be. So
Exactly. Well, you dialed into your feelings for Debbie Downer. I guess you just got to dial into your feelings for the next one.
yeah, yeah, will do.
Maybe call it Be Happy.
Yeah, a tribute. And then I'll be like, I tattooed my album name on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people would think. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Lolo, and chatting with me and with all of us who are watching about your new record and life as you now know it. So, very cool stuff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.